let's turn. Stop. Ah, no. Just, there we go. Hey everyone. Uh, Hope everyone is doing well. My name is Braden. I make music as whereisalex. Today I am going to be breaking down the project file for Be Your Girl, and I'm just gonna make beats for a little bit, which should be fun. Glad that everyone who's here stopped in, and I hope this is a decent time because I am generally stressed and I'm just trying to find stuff to do to get my mind off of things temporarily. This is an old project file, and I am not. I think I have most of the sounds except for like one snare. Ugh. Look at all these samples. Ugh. Okay. Let's make sure that the desktop audio works. Let's just play through the song. Man, listening to this, hearing my old producer brain is funny. That's crazy. That's really funny. Yeah, this isn't a very complicated project file at all. It's pretty straightforward. What you're seeing is what you're hearing. There's no secrets. But we're gonna go through it. Let's just go through it. Look at this beginning real quick. This is when every Where's Alex intro was like a solid minute full of just atmospheric sounds. So obviously the most prominent thing there is the piano. And I was just super into atmosphere whenever I was in this phase of Where's Alex. So I always had a bunch of little stuff going on. Like you can hear the vinyl really crisp, which is such like a, I don't know, lo-fi gimmicky thing by today's standards, but I think any interesting textured sound used tastefully really helps to make a track more interesting. I used to have just a bunch of really weird compilations of sounds that I found and put together, which is just some like that's like fields, that's like times that I reversed. I almost put out a sample pack in 2016, and I just had a bunch of ambient stuff that I put together, and this is one of them. The chimes that I use in every single project, and then reverse it. Got some chimes, just a bunch of little stuff that is underpinning for the harmonic content of the song that makes it really nice and spicy. Uh-oh. There we go. Hey Rich. Okay, let's see what this is. Well, you saved this. The VOD should be saved. That's what I have the settings to, and I think I might be just recording it as backup. But I'm pretty sure this is going to be saved as a VOD. The last one was so. Also, Kilimanzigo with just the like crazy professional mod vibes who put my put the EP in the chat. Thank you very much. Uh, how do I process the Ableton stock piano? I wonder if it even had any processing on it. I dipped out the mids a little bit, and that was it. This was a time where I couldn't really afford VSTs, so I just used Ableton stock piano. Nowadays, I use addictive keys, which is nicer sounding. Uh, oh no, there's some stuff here. I think this is stuff that might have just come with the stock grand piano rack. EQ, glue compressor, reverb. So we got that going. What's this? Addictive Key Mark One. Yeah, it's Addictive Keys has a really nice Mark One piano. I'm trying to get Keyscape. I'm trying to save up and buy Keyscape because those sounds are really nice. So yeah, that's just like a Impact, which I don't use these as often. But when I was still more in that kind of EDM crossover, I try to have those kinds of sounds that just provided really brute emphasis to certain sections of the song. What's this? Are you self-taught or did you take lessons on piano? I learned piano by playing in church. I did take a few lessons in the beginning just to get acclimated, but pretty much everything I know was just getting up and playing every Sunday. What is this? Just a water drop, huh? Water drop that is layered with percussion sound from Camel Blues by Mind Design. Especially when I first started Where's Alex, I did not care where I got my samples. I sampled YouTube videos, I sampled field recordings, I recorded stuff on my phone. So there are a lot of samples that are just scavenged from everywhere. We got the organ. Oh, okay. So the volume is automated to simulate how an actual B3 works, where it has a volume pedal. Check that out. And if you're using an organ VST, make sure to mess with um that rotary speaker switch. That's how you get the. That's how you rev things up. You know. Wow. What do we got here? More piano, I think. Oh, yeah. Then we got just some ambient sound in the background. We got some water splashing and some like a keychain apparently. What are organ libraries you recommend? Either Contact or whatever VSTs. I used VB3 in most of my stuff. That's a really good VST. I'm aware that Contact has a newer version of their organ player that works really well. There's also a VST called Blue 3 that I recently found out about. That sounds pretty good. It's the thing with organ is it's less about if you can find a VST that kind of approximates the sound of the organ pretty well, you're going to be fine. It's more so knowing the mechanics of organ playing and knowing how to cluster notes so that you fill up your sound effectively. Okay, next part. Man, this was back when I didn't separate my drum channels, and I just tracked out all my drums on one drum rack. That's so nasty. Uh, so the main percussion is just clock sounds. Yeah, check that out. Now what's this fill? Pretty simple as far as the setup of it goes. In order to build intensity, I'm really just in the last part of that. Oh, okay. speeding up the frequency of the kick. It's nothing crazy. Um, what is? I think this is the bass over here. Where? What is this? Where I get this? This is some silent thing that I had. This is also back when I was not super into just sound modeling, and I had an unhealthy dependence on using synth banks or just sound banks in order to find sounds. And this is such an obvious sound in retrospect. Um, so I guess the advice there is just to get into learning how to make your own sounds, so you don't have to spend too much time searching for presets. Where do I usually find basses? Nowadays, I usually make basses. Um, for the purposes of what I make, everything is just sine waves and triangle waves that are a low pass and pass some distortion on them. As far as 808s goes, sample packs are useful for that if you have a splice account, but there's no magic bullet for any bass. It's really just about carving out space in your track to make sure that your bass can occupy the low frequency section pretty easily. What is this? Okay, so this is just a stock silent sound called the lead uh, cello. I took some mid out. I used to do this really dumb thing. I saw that Carmack used to model synths by doing this thing where he would get a reverb, turn the wet all the way up, and then shorten the decay time, and you got this really muffled, weird sound out of it. I don't do this anymore, but apparently it was sufficient for this track. I'm curious. What does a stereo field look like on that? T-Rex. Oh, TR5. I can see that. That sounds like it's not good metering. How much do you modify presets compared to sound designing from initial? It depends on what I'm trying to do. If I find a sound that's going to work for what I'm trying to do, I won't change it. Most of the time, I find a sound that approximates what I'm looking for, and then I spend a lot of time tweaking inside of the VST, and then also using audio effects in order to get the sound. Your post processing is really important when you're trying to make a sound that you really like. What is this? What does this look like though? Yeah, I would not have done this nowadays. This was not a great idea, but live and learn. Oh, there's a clap loop. And you got that little riser that there used to be this Soda Island uh pack floating around that I used to use a lot, and it has some really cool sounds. I'm guessing that that side chain to the kick. Yeah. Do you use TR5 in your mastering chain? I occasionally use the classic clipper. Um, Not a lot though. The world would be so much better if Gren Parrot or Green Parrot, I don't know how to say it, if they were making music still. Um, that'd be great. I love Boba Beat and Kites. 2015, 2016 SoundCloud was a time and a half. Here's a drop. Okay. Okay. So the drums are actually super simple, if you can see, just based on the little MIDI image. I think this medicine snare is from the when I was in film noir, we put out a drum kit, and I'm pretty sure that it's from that. Yeah, super simple drum pattern though. Nothing crazy. Here's the hats along with it. And then with the percussion, super nothing crazy as far as drums go. Most of the energy just comes from the harmonic content, which, speaking of which, let's so right away you can hear just the side chaining of the kick and the snare. I don't really use side chaining anymore. Nowadays, I just pop open a utility and I'll literally just sit there and go to like 16th notes and draw in the exact shape by hand, which in my opinion just allows for a cleaner side chain and more options. So yeah, I don't do much side chain with a compressor anymore. And this is saying these sounds are the same stacks you've been listening to throughout the song. Everything is just bunched up in a way that makes the impact stronger. So you have your organ. What is this? The bass? Oh, that's funny. Okay. So I must have layered two different basses in order to give it a bassy foundation, but then have a top with some harmonic content added to it. So there's that, and then layered with a one of Ableton's Fox subs. The sub alone is just like barely audible over my headphones, but makes a difference in a club setting. That layered with, I think this is actually a brass shot that Grant gave me himself. It's nothing special, but presumably it was the one that he was using earlier on. What's this? Huh? I didn't have three bases, did I? I had three bases. I had three. Maybe not. Hold on. Maybe this was the one that I just ended up using. I may have just used the bass from the pre-drop and the drop. Maybe I had these two as options, but just didn't end up. Because this pattern is not in the original. So maybe these two weren't even being used, and it's just this. That's what it looks like. Speaking of which, let's get to this auto pan. I wasn't doing any of my filtering inside of my VSTs. So instead, I just hopped in and took either an auto pan or an auto filter, and I would use that to rhythmically um, modulate like the sound of whatever I was, Ugh. I think it happens again at some point. Yeah. Don't be like me. Don't use auto pan and auto filter in order to make rhythm sounds with your synths. Just use the filter in your VST. That was how I did it back then, and this method allowed me to manipulate um, the rhythm of all of the instruments at once when I grouped it. So I guess in retrospect, it was a pretty good solution. I wouldn't do that now though. Oh, oh. If I wanted to affect the sound of an entire stack at once, I would probably do the utility thing again. I don't know. I might pull up an auto filter. It's just such a. I think nowadays I would want to make sure that every single instrument was having its filter affected in a way that maintained the integrity of the sound. So there might be different cutoffs for different sounds. I would honestly take the time nowadays and just do every single one separately by itself because I really like to be surgical with that kind of stuff now. Yeah, this is... kind of proud of that. You know what? Out of everything that I've done that I'm ashamed of in my past, I'm okay with that drop. What are these sounds though? And that is layered with a silent patch that's doing this. Again, if you aren't already doing it, get into making your own sounds because this is just a super saw, and I didn't know how to do that, and it would have saved me a lot of time, and I would have had better mixing options if I'd have made the sound from scratch. How do you get the Foley so crispy? The way that I get everything crispy, which is just to give it space in the mix on its own. There's nothing else playing there. If it's just a decent sound that already has a nice spread. You notice I did. Oh no, I didn't because it's the EQ is deactivated. So in this case, I really just gave the sound space in the mix and chose a decent sound that had a nice distribution of frequencies. Got those lows in there, those mids, and those really crispy highs that make it feel like paper scrunching up. Um, yeah, no secrets, just decent um sound selection and giving it space in the mix to do what it needs to do. It did. This ended up being the final vocal shot. The I did have an alternate chop that is so garbage. That's not it. That is just not it. I think I might have used that on a beat that I made later. Um, but yeah, what's this? There's there's an artist from Dallas. Their name is Zach Witness. And they make really good music. This is a song. I think this came out like 7 years ago. Time flies. It's called Rise. It was Tricky Turtle. That is the exact song that I use those chops in. I think. Anyway, the a song that they did called Arise has this really nice vocal chop in it. So I use it. Again, back in 2015, 2016, I was sampling everything. I didn't care where it came from. And it was a super just like guerrilla approach to sampling. Nowadays, I try to make sure that everything I use is royalty free. But then again, I didn't monetize this. I didn't put it on streaming services. Um, and I'm not concerned about the legalities of it as much as I was just about having these songs just be like patchworks of accumulated sounds that I just found everywhere. Kind of like how JPEG Mafia, like you can hear in his music that so much of it is just internet samples. That's really how I used to work, where I could be watching a YouTube video and I would hear something and I would like record the audio um, from my desktop to Audacity, and I would use it. So I did switch up my bass when I got to this drop, and the instead of using the silence bass, I ended up using the Rascal 808. I was making some odd decisions. I think that what I heard was that I was trying to get some harmonic content out of the sub. So I think that explains this really weird cut at 167 hertz. So I was trying to make some separation between the sub ear part and the more harmonic stuff. I just didn't know anything about mixing back then. I think that I had some really intuitive yet dumb solutions to problems. Yeah. Also, this was a time where I was, again, weird mixing decisions, but you can see that I actually cut out the sub. So this was I was still getting my kick preference in my mix, where the kick would be the lowest frequencies, and then above that I would put my basses, which I'm pretty sure I would do backwards. Now I would reserve my lowest frequencies for my sub, and then cut out like that 100 for my kick, and then usually my 150 to 200 is my snare, so on and so forth. Hey, New Zealand, what's up? Hey, Harlan. Oh, dude, I heard your song off of the Bonsai Collective EP. I really enjoyed it. That was nice. Uh, 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 what is this? What? So, to your left slightly, to the right slightly, pretty much in center, pretty much in center. That's not even necessary. What? I think this was really a time. SoundCloud was just such a weird time back then, in a weird space where you were talking to people but also producers simultaneously. I just did a bunch of stuff that was meant to impress producers. Like I like this. I'm not sure if I would still do that kind of. I mean, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. It's like a cool producer moment, but is it a great musical moment? Maybe a little bit, but I don't know. I remember I put out Internet Theory, and the very last song is just super saws and just unnecessary rolls. And it was fun to make and fun to listen to, but it's that like weird producer porn kind of thing that again, it's fun to make, but if you're just a regular listener, do you care? Some do. A lot just want a good song. Um, so I try to only do this kind of stuff when it's appropriate to the mood of the song into the feel of the song. Because again, musicianship is important, and having being able to snap like that is important. You also have to know when it's emotionally appropriate and when you're adding something to the song by doing that. Yeah, exactly. Groove is much more important than producer flexing. And it took me a minute to figure that out. I don't think this is so egregious right here, but there are definitely moments in my earlier music making days where I was like, "What are you doing, dude? That's not a great musical moment. You're just trying to show off." There's drum fill over here. Like a MIDI pack of just chords and stuff? Okay, yeah, chords. Sure. Actually, I won't even charge for that. I'll just put that out. Because why not? I already went over that. Yeah. I think that's pretty much everything. This outro. Actually, what is this? I'm curious. I'm sure it's stuff that's already been used, but yeah. So that same cello that I used in order to do this, I just played them legato over here. Nothing crazy. I did use a heartbeat as the actual percussion. That's weird. Not really, but I kind of miss using Foley in order to make these really interesting textures and also just meanings. Like the heartbeat has a really specific meaning relative to the song, and that was kind of like a cool way of storytelling. That added on to like the meaning of the song. And what's this? What is this? That's not even anything. I can just go. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, not a complicated song. Only 38 tracks, so it's not like I was stuffing this song with just random one shots and yeah, it's pretty simple. I think the biggest lesson that I learned from this song was just to do whatever you want to do. Oh, is it? Hold on. What's going on here? It's echoing. Oh, I don't know why. Oh. Okay, is it back to normal now? Bet. All right. What was I saying? Nothing important, I bet. Oh, the biggest lesson I learned from this was just to just trust your instinct and to make the kind of music that you want to make and to not be scared if you do something that hasn't been done before or that you've heard before. What was the exact moment? Hold on. Sometimes I even touch myself. that was it. I spent so much time worrying about that one chord change because it's such a churchy chord change, and I had just never heard someone do that in a song that was like a future bass, future beats song. That and even the one that comes after it, the and even in the beginning when I did the I was so nervous about that just because I, Lido had been doing some gospely type of stuff. But I was just so scared that if I did something that was too authentic and too close to gospel, that it wouldn't work. Um, and as soon as I let myself free from that restraint, music got a lot more fun to make, and it ended up being one of my more popular remixes. So I guess that goes to say, like, whatever it is you think is not going to work inside of a certain format, just go for it. Just try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you should spend time trying to get closer to who you are as a producer. And that means that you just gotta like go for it sometimes and try something out of the box. And maybe that's just a human lesson as well. Is just don't be afraid to be who you are because that's usually when you're operating at your best. I don't want to waste your all's time. I think I went over everything. Did I miss anything? Anything I need to go over again? Again, not a complicated project. Um, this was like a really weird uh time travel thingy. We'll play it again, sure.
Visions of you and I.
thing that I just remembered is I used to gain stage a lot differently. If I turn this off, uh, this saturator off, which was a really, I don't do that anymore. Nowadays, I pretty much mix to my master, and I just use any audible distortion as a sign that I need to start EQing and taking away resonant frequencies. Yeah, but yeah, I used to do that a lot where I would actually make the song super quiet and then boost later. And you can see um, that I'm pulling back volume considerably. What came first when making the song? Vocals, chords? I can never gauge how loud my stuff is relative to everyone else. A lot of times it feels softer. Um, I don't know. I can't. I honestly can't tell. And then sometimes it feels a lot louder, which I'm not happy about because I don't want to, squash everything. Moving forward, I definitely want to get everything I do professionally mixed and mastered so that I know that I'm with the pack as far as the standard for loudness. And when I first made this song, I loved uh, "Be Your Girl" by K Tronada, and I wanted to do a remix as like a challenge to see if I could also make a decent remix out of it. So it was definitely that I knew the vocals that I wanted to remix first. And I think after that, after having the vocals, the chord progression came. Do you use Ozone for mastering? I used to. I super don't nowadays. Again, I thought there was some magic bullet for mastering, and it's really just to make sure that all resonant frequencies are out of your mix, and gain stage effectively. And you can really just put a limiter on it, and that'll do it. Um, I will occasionally use ozone for um, limiting and also for adding um, like stereo to a sound because I don't have another plugin that does that effectively. And Ozone's imager has a really useful thing where you can take something that's in mono, I don't know, and like stereoize it by offsetting the. Anyway, yeah, not much. Occasionally, sometimes. Also, did you see the vocal processing? Nothing crazy. I just reverb delay, compression for the two main drums, and then I pulled down the some mids and some highs, and then did it again in a multi-band. Bet cool. That about does it, man. That's about it on that. That was a wild time, 2016, man. Someone, I think it was Kilimanzigo, who asked, I did a remix of Havana by Camila Cabello, and there was an ARP that I used. And I'm gonna just go over it real quickly because it's super nothing crazy. Where is it? Yeah. Bloop. So yeah, I mean that's super uncomplicated. It's just a square wave, and I put an LFO on the coarse setting in Serum. Where is it? So it's just scooping up, and there's a release on it, a very short attack. I don't even think there's any post processing. That's really it. And then I just pulled up. Ugh, can't spell. Mm. Yeah, super simple. I used to be a really big fan of Wave Racer. I still love Cosmos Midnight and just like Dolphin. So I actually had a sample pack that I used to reference a lot, and I would. That's how I first started making some of my first sounds from scratch. Is I would reference that sample pack and try to recreate the sounds. There you go. I'm a do Drake flow probably next Sunday, since that's one of the I think that's still the biggest remix that I've ever made. It's also a really simple track. Yeah, Wave Racer is great. Um, any questions? Anything you just want to know? I can't reliably pull up projects files because I don't know what's missing or but just general questions. And mm, 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 mm. I don't remember what art I used in Simpler. I actually do not have that was the art. I don't have the project file anymore. Or do I? Do I? Because I'm pretty sure that was on a laptop that bricked. See, yeah, I only have an MP3 of it, the project file. I could probably recreate it. I remember how everything was made. It's not complicated. Piano? I'm not great at piano as far as just playing. I did spend time in church, which has taught me a few things. No, honestly, I can listen to the song and see if I can try and recreate it. I still have all the samples, I'm pretty sure. It's just, yeah, I just lost the laptop that it was on. Is there a way that y'all can see what I'm playing? Because that'd be great. Insert MIDI clip. This is suboptimal. I don't love this. The only jazzy thing I can do is seventh and well, you know what? Seventh and ninth chords are a really good start, and that's honestly it's really just taking really simple shapes and just adding stuff onto it. So if I'm in C sharp and I'm trying to play the one lounge lizard, let's get loungy. By the way, I refer to everything in scale degrees. So I'm just if I'm talking about the one, I'm just talking about the the first like the I don't know. I don't know how to explain scale degrees. In any event, if I'm in C sharp and I'm trying to play a one, where Does it? I didn't. Mm, yeah, I see. I have the super old version. That would have been nice, but it doesn't show it. Give me like 2 seconds. Let me just see if there's some kind of utility online that I can get. Hold on. Oh.
She said, what if I dive deep?
Y'all can still hear me, right? That'd be yeah. It says that y'all can. Um, Relay MIDI. I'm probably gonna do a an art stream sometime, just so that y'all can see how I make some of my assets. I'm just super into giving away information right now. That's just super important to me right now. I don't want to I just been thinking a lot about the way that things usually work and how people just like hoard resources in order to keep their position, and I super don't want to contribute to that. So I'm keep doing these streams and just going through project files and just making stuff in front of people, so that people can have information. That's mad important. And granted, I don't have much information, but whatever I have um, is valuable to give away. Okay, can't. No. Free. Image display. Pocket. On screen. It'd be nice if there were just an online utility for this, because okay, and I can just go over concepts. Anyways, so like if I'm in C sharp and I'm just trying to play a nice starting chord, I would start with. Let me go back to my piano. And it's just simple stuff like we can put the fifth on top of the chord. So now we have, which we're playing that A flat 2 times in my right hand, but it fills the chord out nicely. Whenever I'm playing a one, I think my default position is to play the five, the one, the two, the three, and then the five again, which is a really simple voicing, but and especially when you're playing a piano, the cluster of notes just sounds really nice. Just something is playing that 1, 2, 3, 5 over and over again makes for some really nice piano sounds. I can be playing behind a preacher and just playing the 1, 2, 3s and fives is really nice. Prayer improv, exactly. That's exactly what it is. So yeah, so the same way that you are stacking your sevenths and ninths, just mess around with threes. Don't be afraid to play the same note in 2 octaves. Yeah. And then also mess around with variations of scale degrees. So again, I'm in the C sharp, I'm playing my one. I can do the very straightforward one that has that five and then the one, the two, and the three. I can also play a C sharp in my left hand, and then I can voice a or voice. I can play an A flat major in my right hand, which sounds like this, which is just a really nice variation that has some different sentimentality to it. In the same way that I play the 1 through the 5 of the C sharp, I can play the 1 through 5 of the A flat. So I'm in, A flat, B flat, C, E flat. So mess around with what things you can put on top of a bass note. And that just comes from messing around and knowing what I can stick above a bass note. So that was, you know, a C sharp major, and then I played an E flat major over a C sharp. And then even something as simple as playing like an E major chord over a C sharp. Gives off really interesting and different vibes. Uh, if I'm ever just playing prayer music or talk music, another thing that I'll do is keep the root the same, but just mess around with your right hand. And you can also do the same thing where you keep your right hand the same and change the root. Uh, what's an example of that? Uh, if I'm an A flat, like that has a different feel to it. So I could do, you know. Another thing that will give your chords some life, and again, especially when you're on piano, is to just make your voicings really dense. Let's stay in C sharp. Uh, a three that I really love to play a lot is this. So I'll be messing around. I'll do this. So that's really simple, actually. So we start with F in the left hand, and then we put an A flat major chord in the right hand, which That's a really straightforward. One second. My cord is unplugged and it's making Ableton choppy. There we go. Anyway, yeah, that's a really simple chord. It's the way that I beef it up that makes the difference. So I'm playing G, A flat, B flat, C, and E flat all in one hand. And then I have that F in my left hand, but I'm adding a C and I'm adding an E flat. So it's a really condensed cluster of chords. But when you put it together, it sounds pretty okay. And here's what makes it so nice. I'm playing that chord. I'm playing in C sharp, so I'm here. The cluster of chords that I'm playing when I play this chord are all notes that are relative or that belong to E flat. So by playing chords that are pretty rudimentary, just in a different context, that makes it sound a lot more complex than it is. So I did it again there. So I'm playing a bunch of notes that belong in C sharp, but I literally just took that chord and pitched it up two semitones. So watch this. One more. And then I added a D. So that is something that I do a lot in order to make stuff sound more complex than it is. I just move around keys a lot. If you know your circle of fourths and you know your circle of fifths, that'll allow you to just transition into keys seamlessly without anyone noticing. And again, you can play the exact same um, kinds of chords, but they'll sound really nice. So I can just play the one and the four over and over again, but in different keys. Watch. So I'm in C sharp. So technically, this four of the C sharp is actually the one of F sharp. So when I do, I can actually move into F sharp as a key. That circle of fourth and that circle of fifth is really all you need. It's nothing. It's nothing crazy. And for anyone who it's a super simple concept, but the circle of fourths and the circle of fifths is just you pick a scale and you play up until you get to the fifth, and then you start with that as the new key, and then you play into to the fifth again, and then you do it again, and it makes a loop. And you can do that with your fourths, and you can do that with your fifths. And if you learn how they're interconnected, then you can end up with some really interesting chord changes. I'm trying to think of one that I use a lot. Uh, I mean, yeah. If I'm just playing over a preacher talking, I'll go in and out of my fifths and fourths a lot. But also learn um seconds really good. That one that I just did where I'm doing the that's me just transposing a chord up two semitones and then playing the original chord. Nothing crazy. And I also use my minor thirds a lot. So I'm in C sharp. So I'll mess around in E a lot and then dip back down into C sharp. That's actually a really common chord progression to play when a preacher is coming out of prayer and they're ramping up to get into like a really live, emphatic thing. Yeah. That's all. That's crazy because I used to. That's how I got into just music. Was just playing saxophone in church. That's an experience, man. Growing up around music and other musicians was just such a great experience to have. I'm gonna definitely do another stream where I get into the specifics of some piano so that I can make sure that I'm saying it in a way that's digestible and clear. But those are just some base ideas of how to implement some ideas in your piano playing. Anything else? I think for the rest of the time, I'm just gonna mess around and try and make a beat. And if you want to stick around for that, you can. If not, I totally understand. Thank you for everyone who is stuck around thus far. This is cool. It's only my second stream, but I'm kind of liking this. It's okay. It's okay. Mm, mm, mm. Favorite uses of dissonance. Whenever I am trying to move into a hmm, my chord structures are pretty simple. So I just use like really simple, like I'll use twos and sixes a lot. So yeah, there's your two. I'll just move back and forth between the two and the six. So when I want to make it interesting, that's when it's time to use something dissonant in order to vary it up. So I can be in that is a way to add some variation. So how do I explain this? They're your main chords that comprise the basis of your song, and they usually come in the form of rudimentary scale degrees, just your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you have passing chords, which are really interesting ways to get to and from other chords. So I save my dissonance for the most part for those passing chords. Mm, I can do that, or I can. By the way, something I use a lot because I came from church are tritones. So I'm an E flat. I find my one, I find my five, I go to my five, and I go a semitone down. That's called your tritone. The basis of like modern gospel music is just your tritone. That's how you do everything. Uh, if you want to make things sound dissonant, build a chord off a tritone. That's a really good way to make things interesting. I play tritones constantly because again, all gospel chords are chock full of them. So that thing I did with the my right hand is really simple. That's a B flat. That's a A flat. Uh, that's a G. Super simple chords. But when you put that tritone and you which is just like crunchy and nasty, and but you can do that when you're using passing chords because you're not staying there for long. If someone was singing a solo and I just stayed on that would not be great. But when you're trying to get from one place to another, you allow yourself to have some of that dissonance because you aren't sitting on it for too long. Uh, I think that's the only time that I use a tritone and I'll sit on it is this one right here, which is like a revision of like a three. But yeah, tritones, man. I didn't know that people wanted to hear piano stuff. Now that I know, I will dedicate a stream. I'll find some programs that allow me to show my piano on screen, and I'll go through just like basic stuff so that people can beef up their chords. And also just utilize resources online. I mean, it's out there. But yeah, I gotta do Drake Flow for one stream, and then I'll do piano for another stream. So it's a plan. All right. Hey, what's up? Anything else before I just um mess around? Let me go to my so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, let's try and do something. Again, thanks to everyone who stuck around this long. I'm super new to this, but y'all are making this an amazing experience. So thank y'all. I'm gonna keep that. Let's see here. My middle name is Alex, and I was in film noir at the time, and my original name was just Alex, but Alexander Lewis was also in film noir, so there couldn't be two Alexes. Um, so I had to be Where is Alex? Um, and I chose Where is Alex because I have a really hard time making social connections. I don't leave the house super much. Um, I'm not super great with like answering phone calls and texts. So there's always this degree of like where is bro? Um, or just like not seeing me around a lot because I do what I have to do in real life and then dip back to my apartment. Um, so yeah, where is Alex? Not the best name in retrospect, but it definitely stuck out a little bit. Yeah, that's the one. I messed that up. Where is it? Because that's not right. Freeze up. Let's use this first. I don't want to. Let's, let's do that. What's happening here? Oh, why is it still going? No. On there. Why are you doing that? No. Yeah. if you could, but like, no, maybe it. Hey, what's up? Just, just go backwards. Just. Mm, mm. Oh, if you could just. No. Oh, maybe I'm gonna. No, I can't. Faster. Faster. That's it. Just random beats. I have nothing planned out, and we're gonna see where it goes. Broke down a song earlier too. That was wild. From like 2016. Let's add some delay to that. That may stay or go. We'll see. I have some Triton stuff that I can use. Yeah. Hmm. If y'all haven't heard the Power Black compilation, go cop that because Killerman's ego snapped on a jungle frequency. It's a banger. My biggest problem is switching from chord to chord. I'm too worried about what chord voicing to use instead of free falling. I know quite a bit of music theory. If I'm gonna drum it in. Knowing how to switch from chord to chord gracefully takes some time, but if you just mess around and you're okay to make mistakes, it you learn some stuff. Maybe not. I kind of like that more. was a. Final. There's so much stuff in here. Nasty. Then I already know we're gonna. That LA show was crazy. I'm glad that I got to have that one live show experience before coronavirus really hit the U.S. That was a good experience that I almost didn't do. I'm glad I did though. Thanks for coming to that, by the way. And yeah, man, stay up. And then we're going to arena. I'm not loving that. Yo, I want to go and play a show. Obviously not right now, but in Brazil so badly. I would really love that. France too. Y'all have some really talented producers in France. I should have just done this before. There we go. Omnisphere. Just the EST. Thank you very much. Please don't explode my computer. There we go. Oop. Drop. Right, no. Where are you? Seriously, though, where? Oh, there you are. That's not it. Let's also add velocity. Do you mean like what kind of music do I practice on keys, or uh, like I usually practice just gospel music. I don't really stream it or anything though. I'm not sure if that's what you meant, but. I just play along to a lot of my favorite songs. I'll shout a lot to just Kirk Franklin, John P. Key, like just like that like late '90s to early 2000s stuff. Just to stay sharpened as far as my skills go. Again, I'm not a great piano player, but that's where I get my inspiration from. Yeah, yeah, right. Just like modern, just like that gospel fusion type sound is what I focus on a lot, just to make sure that my chords stay up. We need some trumpets. That sounds like it's in a F, so I'm a 1, 2, 3. Let's try and find something that's gonna work. Nope. Oh, not so much. Um, let's get like a compressor. See if we can do something about that. I could also just automate it. Clip volume. Where is it? Just like a. Oh, I don't know. Oh, that tail. Freeze. Generic horns. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, let's not use the same track. Let's not do that. That's the one. $200. That's not bad, but that's still not yeah. Mm. Ever thought about upgrading to Live 10 Suite from Stan? I have the money for it. I should probably do it at some point. I don't know the difference in features off the top of my head. It'd probably be a worthwhile investment, though. Why am I not hearing the? Oh, I turned it off. That's why. Wavetable is the best. Oh, really? Wavetable is the best thing ever. Huh. I'm gonna look into that then. No, feedback. Soulful trumpet. That sounds kind of corny, but that's not the one. So let's go to the next one. This is the one. Just gonna do it. I use delay too much. Oh well. Now let's save that for something. No. these are stock. I have some other ones in here that are modified. Yeah. Diva is pretty good, at least for me, at emulating like analog sounds in a way that's really appealing. So I don't mess around unless I'm trying to make it playable in a different way. Like I have some where I had to add the glide manually. But otherwise, yeah, it has some really good, especially if you're trying to make like G funk in just like synth funk. It has some really good presets. That's how it's spelled. I don't know if that's a typo, but guitar bleed. Horn phrase 2. Horn phrase 1. Perfect. What's this? The bump 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 bump. Okay. Let's Nope, that's what you want to do. Oh, you know what I should be doing? Let's get the okay. Where is it? Let's Oh, look at that. Oh, that's crazy. will find where that organ sound is from and I'll tell you. Yeah, it is some Splice. I heard for reasons I have the stems to a Grizz song and it has some brass track stems in it, and what I learned is that, and you know what, I'm gonna not say that because I don't know them like that and I don't want to spill on their production secrets. I did hear an organ that upon closer inspection may not have actually been an organ, but a synth model to sound like an organ. And the advantage to this right here is that it approximates an organ sound, but it's very clean to mix. That VB3 and that Blue 3 that I use sometimes are very good organ emulation sounds. They can also be dirty, just because, and that VB3 especially, it simulates the um the sound of a Leslie spinning, and it can just be too much ground noise to mix out. So occasionally I go for the Serum organ. I'll find it though and tell you exactly which one it is. I forget. I think someone at some point wanted me to remix "Push On." Um, I didn't end up doing it. I have a lot of things in my computer I just should not have, as far as like stems and acapellas. Oh, you know what? Let me change that in there. Oh well, that's not gonna work. But I like. I don't know. Yeah, I like that better. I like that voice. Honestly, if I had the Chance the Rapper plug, I would send a pack. I just don't know how to do that. Also, I want acid rap, Chance level rapping on anything I sent him, and not so much the Christian raps. He's a great artist, though. He really inspired me um, to really just pursue the gospel sound without being scared of it. Best lead? If I'm from the glide. Um, where simply? Or I can get rid of that, and I can do like a oh, try. That's how I usually start on tracks. I do like a really nice lead. I mean, like a really nice intro with some chords, and then I'll try and do the first drop. I should probably go back and really work on those drums because they aren't bad, but they don't flow as well as they could just by themselves. I think that's a good place to stop it. That's usually how I make a beat. Nothing crazy. Yeah, I'm the last time I tried to make a beat in front of y'all, I froze up. So this is an improvement, I guess. And other times I'll be working on things that I've already started. But yeah, okay. Thank you, everyone who stuck around. Thank you for sticking around. Would you upload this on SoundCloud? Um, if I work on it some more, it's not a great song right now, but I'm definitely gonna see if it's worth finishing. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys very much for sticking it out on a Sunday night. Y'all stay safe. Um, stay watchful. Um, don't forget to give yourself time to refill and recharge in this very crazy time. Love y'all. Love y'all very much. Am I gonna save this? I'll save it later. All right. Thanks, guys. Ooh, 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 ooh. Be good. Do good things.